Yeah. So.
I find it a tremendously powerful constellation. I think just to complete the sentence, but I also find it wonderfully evocative of a certain spirit of possibility, as well as how to make things work, about progress, about movement, about forward mobility. I think it's evocative of a certain kind of spirit that embodies a cultural zeitgeist, if you will.
And maybe even a cultural zeitgeist of, expectations to articulate and to pronounce in public what the rules of engagement are, or the protocols of engagement, I should say.
Exactly.
All right. So, well, I had only bits and pieces of both rooms, but I have an inkling that it all went well. Except if someone wants to say that no, it was all awful, and so please. What do you think? Do you have any comment? And I see that Mathangi was finishing some thoughts, and I think that we should sort of what do you think? What do you think about the session? Anyone? Kay? How did it go with,
I don't know if I'm allowed to speak as well, because I'm definitely going to say it went well. So, but it went well, I guess. It was an interesting conversation. And I like the interaction also, because we sort of moved away from just discussing the trans-Bangladeshi trip to also seeing, hearing Zainab's experiences and opinions of the trips that she's taken in the past, and just, making that connection between then, now, and, what we're looking forward to post-pandemic. So, yeah.
Kay, I actually quoted you in part of that we talked about, because we were in part of the discussion. We talked a bit about mourning as it relates to movement, and your first line excerpt that you read to us was how going into Cameroon made you feel a sense of loss. Mm-hmm. But something that I really appreciated from this discussion was the way that Uche, is that how I say it? Uche's experience kind of moving to the U.S. Gave us kind of this window into talking about protocols, which what Karen said is has been a very big subject right now at the VLC, and what the constellations of power, particularly within the American context, and how we articulate ourselves to those protocols, but how those protocols also need to be reintroduced to society, or we need to have a discussion about what those protocols are.
Uncle Jide, what do you think?
Hi, I've been, I listened to I was in the room, where I found it, very interesting. I find it particularly interesting hearing people, grapple with ideas of multiple identities, because I think we are still just getting away from the belief that living people have to be confined into a certain kind of identity or a certain kind of way of being or where you're from. And all of these things are pretty artificial contraptions that are used to control people, I think, are used in the service of power and wealth. And so I think it's important to be able to be like Uche's children and realize from very early in life that the person who you meet is the person who you meet. it will be very difficult for somebody to come to tell Uche's children back in Nigeria that this is what this kind or a person from this place is like, because you've encountered people on a one-to-one basis and you realize that at the end of the day, it's just a recognition of a common strand of humanity on which we base our relationship. So yeah, I found it very, very interesting.
Thanks, sir. This session basically builds on the first ones, which is now we can invariably say that it is to discuss the in-between space, the hyphenate. Much of also the conversation that happened in this other room comes from there. And it comes from the fact that we, for the first time, collaborated and took Invisible Borders, a project that began with, Nigerian photographers, and we took it all the way to Bangladesh, and it succeeded in a very profound way. I wish I had the photo we made the last evening. We shared together. I wish we had it somewhere here. Okay, remember that photo, right? It was full of intense, but again, you get a sense that much of what gave the photo so much importance was everybody was reliving that moment of being on the road together in their own little way. By the time we were about to leave Bangladesh, everybody was reliving that. So I hope that we've been able to capture, a bit of that sort of in-betweenness with this session. And I guess it's time to go for a break and come back to the next